Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to go over Daniel chapter 2 in this one. Just wanted to take a look at a couple things here. That this chapter here in Daniel tells us 2,600 years of human history. It goes from the time of Babylon, which was the first kingdom that was set up in the world, and it takes us right down into the destruction of the world and the setting up of God's eternal kingdom. Okay, so it takes us right down to our time right now and what's going to soon happen. And this is an amazing dream. This shows that God, He knows all things. So, what do you guys check this out? All right, Daniel chapter 2, verse 1. Let's read this verse 1. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Now notice how it says that he dreamed dreams. And then because of the dreams that he dreamed, his spirit was troubled, and he could no longer sleep. Okay? Whenever you see spirit in the Bible, it's a spirit. It's really representing a person's mind. It's a person's mind, their will, their emotions, it's their heart and their head. Because the dream, we have dreams in our head, and his spirit was troubled. Okay? So his mind was troubled because of this dream. So, if you look in verse 2, it says, the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and all the Chaldeans for to show the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king. This is incredible. And Nebuchadnezzar the king said to them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. Then the king said, the thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. So the king is requesting that they tell him what he dreamed. This is just awesome. And then the servants say, but if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, the king's saying this, and the interpretation, you will receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. And they answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. Now these are all the PhDs of the kingdom, and all the university degrees, and the scientists and the magicians and astrologers, all the smartest people in the kingdoms, and they couldn't do it, And the king said, I know of certainty that you would gain the time, because ye see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation. He's saying that, how do I know your interpretation is going to be true? You could just be making something up. But if you know the dream, then I know that you can tell the interpretation. So the Chaldeans answered and said before the king, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Oh yeah? God has his people on the earth. They don't know it. Because notice what they say, there is no man on earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asked such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. They're saying to the king that no man has ever asked anybody of such a thing. And they think that no man can show it. Well, a man can show it if God reveals it to them. And we're going to check this out here. Let's go to verse 31. We're going to get into where Daniel comes in. What's in verse... Notice what he says in 27. Daniel comes in, and Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded, cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king? He's saying that they can't show it to you. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the vision of thy head upon thy bed are these. Oh, I love it. Okay. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind. See the spirit, the mind, upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. You see, guys, only God knows our mind. Only God knows our secret thoughts. That's why we can hold nothing back, because we are laid naked before him. We can hide things from everybody on this earth, but God knows everything. He searches the reins of our hearts. It's just absolutely incredible, man. Lucifer, the devil, cannot read our thoughts. He can put thoughts into our head, but he cannot read our mind. He doesn't know what's in our. The angels can't do it. Only God can do it. All right, let's look in verse 30. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any other living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. He's not taking credit for it. He's letting them know that I'm not special. This is the God of heaven that is special, is what he's basically saying here. All right. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. He's telling the king what he dreamt. God gave Daniel the same dream and showed it to him. Oh, it's awesome. Okay. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver. This is the image he's explaining to him. His belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, that's key, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold, the entire statue, was broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. So now he just told him what he dreamed. So now Daniel's going to explain what all that means. Isn't that incredible? What he just explained, you guys, is the history of the world from the time of Babylon all the way down until the second coming of Christ. And in fact, I think it has something to do with the third coming of Christ too. That the third coming is one after the 1,000 years, when God comes back. All his redeemed people are with him at the third time with all the angels. That's when he comes to that's when the wicked are judged. So I'm a little confused on the ending part, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But this is just fascinating, you guys. Alright, so we're going to go verse 37. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. You see, God gives the rulers of this earth God is the one that gives the kingdoms to men. He rules in all the affairs of men, you guys. Okay. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. You guys see, Babylon, specifically Nebuchadnezzar, was the head of gold. Okay, that's what that's talking about right there. And Babylon, it's the whole kingdom of Babylon, but it's going to go through the kingdoms in succession all the way up until the time in which we live right now. Babylon was the first one. Okay. Now next, and after thee shall arise a kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. We're going to explain that in a minute. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things. And as the iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it the strength of the iron. So the iron is going to continue into the feet. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Okay? And as the toes of the feet were part of iron, you see the iron goes right down into the toes as well, and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And now before we finish this, I'm going to go back to the first one he mentions, and I'm going to give you guys my understanding of this. And I don't have all the references on me. I'll have to make another video. But if we look here, okay, so we know Babylon was the head of gold. Okay, now when it says here, after thee shall arise another kingdom, it says that this kingdom, the second kingdom that's talking about there, and there's other parts that I just don't have the references. That's the kingdom of Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia was the kingdom that overthrew Babylon when Cyrus emptied out a part of the Euphrates River, and he came in underneath through the gates of the city when they were having a feast. And we'll read about that later. But then notice how he says this third kingdom is brass, and it shall bear rule over all the earth. That's talking about the kingdom of Greece. That's Alexander the Great. Okay? Alexander the Great in Greece, they overthrew the Persians, the Medo-Persians. And then when Alexander the Great died, he left the kingdom to his 4 generals, and that's also described here in the Bible. And we will get to that in another video, but I just wanted to show you guys this. So that third kingdom takes us all the way down to Greece. So we have Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. Now this fourth kingdom is the kingdom that overthrows Greece. And I'm sure anybody that knows history understands this. And remember this too, guys, that Daniel was given this dream sometime in 500 BC. We're talking 600 years before Christ. He was shown the history of these kingdoms all the way down to our time. Isn't that incredible? But notice this, guys. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. The fourth kingdom will be strong as iron, you guys. The fourth kingdom was Rome. It was the Roman Empire. It was Pagan Rome. Okay, Pagan Rome is the kingdom that overthrew Greece. And they were the kingdom that was in power when Jesus was born. And they were even called the Iron Monarchy of Rome. It's just fascinating. And then it says, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdues all things. Rome ruled, just they were the worst kingdom. And they were different from all the others. Now notice this though, guys. And where thou sawest the feet and toes of potter's clay. Okay, this is after the Roman Empire. Okay, this is the shape it's in until Jesus comes, you guys. After the Roman Empire divided in 476 AD is when they divided into 10 horns. 10 nations. That's where the English come from, the Italians, the Germans, the Spanish, the French. That's where all those, they were barbarian tribes that came down and overthrew and tore apart Rome, and it divided Rome. Rome wasn't conquered, it fell apart and divided. And it's still divided to this day over there in Western Europe. And it says that, as thou saw the feet and toes part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. So it's still divided to this day. And you guys know what the feet of iron and clay mean? The iron was in the legs. Remember the legs of iron? Well, that's Rome. So Rome continued. The state power of Rome continued into this kingdom, which this kingdom is the papacy, because it's a mixture of church and state. The clay represents the church. God's people are his clay, and he's the potter. Okay, that represents church. And the iron represents the state, the Roman state. Their government was different than all the other kingdoms. They had a senate, and they had they had all kinds of, I mean, we have a lot of the same things that Rome had. So the Roman state power and influence it rules the world still. So I don't know a ton about that history, but I do know that it's very significant. So we have here the feet and toes are iron and clay mixed together. It's a mixture of church and state, and that's the papacy. And they ruled through the Dark Ages. They ruled from 538 until 1798 is when they got their deadly wound, when Napoleon took the Pope captive and he died in holding, and they still have the deadly wound, but the deadly wound's being healed. And what that means is that a state legislative civil power in the world is going to give over their state power to the papacy. That's what it means. It's the church, is when the church is controlling the state again. That's when the deadly wound is healed. Okay, so the papacy is still here today. It's the Roman Catholic Church. They're still here today. And they're here until Jesus comes. It's just fascinating. And the USA plays a part in this too. We'll get into that more later, but the USA are the ones that we were all fleeing persecution from the papacy because we were disgusted with them. They killed all God's people. Anybody that disagreed with their church traditions, if you couldn't believe in the Bible, or they'd kill you. It was terrible, you guys. And so God gave the new land of America to his church that were fleeing persecution to come here. He gave it to his woman, to his church. That's why America is a so-called, it has the appearance of a Christian nation. It's because all the Protestants came here fleeing Roman persecution from the papacy. So that's what that's talking about there. And notice how it says it'll be divided, which we already know that it's still divided. But notice where it says, and this is just incredible here, right here in verse 43. So this is talking about the papacy. And whereas thou saw the iron mixed with miry clay. Okay, remember that's church and state union. Okay. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with iron or with clay. Church and state just does not mix, you guys. It's only Jesus and God The Father can run church and state perfectly. No man can do it. Because anytime the church and state joins, persecution comes. It's just the way it is. So, and if you look here, when it says that they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, you guys, all through Europe over the past 1,000 years, they have been trying to intermarry families. Kings have been marrying kings of other, or queens of other countries, and trying to unite the empire through marriages and through intermarriages. That's been going on for a long time. You guys, it's still going on because they're trying to unite the empire. But God says that it will not unite. It will stay divided. But they've been trying to do it ever since. And then it says, and they shall not cleave one to another. That's marriage. God says that a husband shall leave his wife and cleave unto his wife. And the wife shall cleave unto her husband. So yeah, they've been trying to unite the empire through marriage for a long time, but God said that it will not be united. Charlemagne, Napoleon, Louis the 15th, I believe it was, Charles the 5th. You guys, so many people have tried to unite the empire through marriage, and they can't do it. God says that it will not. It will stay divided. And then it says, in the days of those kings. Now, right after the papacy, once its deadly wound is healed, you guys, that's when Jesus comes. Okay, right soon after. And in those days shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom right on this earth with his people, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. For it shall break in pieces and consume all those kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. You guys, God is coming to set up his everlasting kingdom on this earth. Who does not want to be a part of that? To have eternal life and to live on this earth for all eternity with Jesus. Oh man, and get to meet God the Father and all the angels and all the other worlds that are out there. The millions of worlds that are created out there. I mean, everything will be open to us. Oh, it's fascinating. And then it says, now check this out. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands. So it's not human. You guys see that? The stone that was cut out of the mountain without hands, it means that no human cut this stone out. It was cut out without human hands. It's a miracle how this happened. And you know what I think this is? And I was talking to some people about this. I have been going through, because I don't think I believe in the Trinity. I think from what I'm seeing in my Bible studies, is that there was God the Father. He is eternal. He does not have a beginning or an end. But in fact, he did begot his son Jesus. He was begotten, not created. Jesus was not created, but he was begotten of the Father. He was cut out. The stone was cut out of the mountain without hands. That means God brought forth Jesus from within inside of himself. So Jesus is of the same substance of the Father. You guys see that? That's incredible. And I never used to think that until I started studying these things, and it just started dawning on me, like, was Jesus really brought forth? And I'm studying it right now because I want to. I mean, that's very important. We need to know who God is. You know, and there's just so much to it that you got to study and go after. But I just wanted to mention that to you guys because that's something that I think we definitely need to pay attention to. And that's gonna be it for this video, you guys. And it ends here after the dream. We'll read that last verse one more time. For as much thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands. This is talking about Christ. and that it break in pieces the iron, brass, clay, silver, and gold. The entire statue was broken. All the kingdoms of the world were broken. And the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. And then after this happened, then King Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is, that your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. And then Daniel requested of the king that he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his 3 Hebrew friends, over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. The king kept him close. Because he has more dreams in later chapters that Daniel helps him with, that God shows him too. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys, and there's a lot more to this. There's other places in Daniel and in the Bible that we can connect all these verses to show how it's Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece overthrows them. And then the Roman Empire comes and overthrows Greece. And then the Roman Empire is divided into 10 horns. And then the papacy springs up among the 10 horns, and then rules all the way up until Jesus comes. But he does have a deadly wound for a time, and we're living in that time right now. Because like I said, in 1798 it was when Napoleon gave the papacy its deadly wound. They took the state power away, and that happened in 1798. If you guys want to look it up, it's fascinating to study. And when the deadly wound is healed, we're going to see some civil authority, government, state power that's in the world. They're going to give their state authority over to the papacy. That's what the deadly wound being healed means. It's going to have state power again. So, because it's a church that rules with the strong arm of the state. It uses the power of the state to further her own ends. So if we don't believe in what the papacy teaches us about the traditions and about all the false gospel and about all that, you guys gotta go. They believe in like the rapture and how hell is an ever eternal burning place of torment. They believe in all this foolishness that the Bible doesn't teach, and they believe in the Trinity as well. And if you don't believe what they believe, they kill you. That's what they do. That's what they did throughout the Dark Ages for 1,260 years. You guys can look this up. It's estimated between 50 to 100 million Christians died during the Dark Ages. It was called the Dark Ages for a reason, because it was the darkest time in human history, because the Christian church killed God's people. The established Christian church. And in fact, when you look at it, guys, Satan has been hiding in the Christian church for the past, we're talking probably 1700 years, at least 1500 years. He's been hiding in the Roman Catholic Church, and not many people have known it. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I don't say any of this to offend anybody. It's just that when we study the Bible has to tell us what truth is, and then we tell other people. I'm not making none of this stuff up. We study the Bible. God reveals through the Bible what His truth is, and then and that's what the truth is. If you have a problem with that, then you have a problem with God. You know what I mean? And I used to have a problem with all that, but I'm to the point now where I don't even want to hear what men think anymore. I've been so fed up with just everybody's got an opinion, and everybody's got their truth and my truth and your truth. Well, I just want the Bible and the Bible only. I want God's truth. That's all I want. Nothing else. I want God's truth. I don't want man's opinion. I'm just done with it. So, well, thank you guys for listening, and I will have another video up soon, and we'll go into a little bit more depth with everything that we went over here tonight. We will go into better depth in one of the upcoming videos. So, all right, well, thank you guys. God bless, and have a good one.